Hi everybody, this is our last video for the semester, and I hope that you've enjoyed just the short videos that well, maybe some of y'all don't think they're very short, but with YouTube they can only be so long, but it gives us just a little opportunity, gives y'all an opportunity to see a little bit more of me. Sometimes it can be challenging in an online environment since we don't get to see each other face to face. I wanted to just talk a little bit about some of the last few things that I wanted to mention from our textbook, and I also wanted to let you know, I put an announcement in that I was going to work on the final this weekend, and so I'll have that posted sometime next week for y'all to do, just, whenever it's convenient for you. And I promise there maybe won't be so many kind of tricky questions as there were last time. I didn't mean for it to come out that way, but I'll try to be more conscious of that this time. Anyway, so I wanted to talk a little bit about it's sexuality. So I was thinking in the book it talked about, how things have changed over time, and back we've been watching Mad Men lately, got addicted to Mad Men. And, I grew up in that time. I was a kid, during that time in the early 60s, but things were way different then sexually, and people were, it was a lot more open, not really open sex. I won't say that because people didn't talk about it. They did it behind closed doors, and then they didn't, necessarily talk to other people about it. But a lot went on behind closed doors. And what I've noticed on that TV show is that it doesn't seem like a lot of times there's much emotion. It's mostly just kind of raw sex, and back then, people didn't really focus too much on women having orgasms. It was mostly just about men. And so, that shows that in the video, in the Mad Men TV show, which if y'all haven't watched it, it's kind of a fun thing to watch. I've enjoyed it. But anyway, so I was thinking about the 60s, the early 60s, and then I was thinking about the later 60s where, we had hippies and LSD, and I didn't ever do that, but I was pretty young still at the time. I graduated from high school in 72, so in the late 60s I was still in high school, but I did have friends who did all that. But anyway, everybody talked about free love, and so there was a lot of that going on too. A lot of people just, doing drugs and having sex and all that, and then also that continued into the 70s when I was then, a young adult, and so I probably participated in some things that I shouldn't have, and lived to regret, but at least I lived. But what happened, a lot of those people would go to clubs and they'd, do cocaine or speed or whatever they did, and then they'd go home with people, and, people just did that. They had sex with people they didn't know, and I guess that still goes on, but I think with HIV and AIDS that's changed a lot, and other STDs and STIs, and so that's changed a little bit. I think I mentioned that before when we went in one of my other videos. But anyway, so things have changed, and while there's still a lot of people and young people having sex pretty freely, I think people are more conscious of diseases and things. So I don't know. I'm kind of out of the loop, but I'm not sure how much people actually, go to like clubs and stuff and then go home with people that they don't really know. I've also, thought about like politicians. You're always seeing. I saw something last week on AOL about one of John F. Kennedy's mistresses, or his mistress. I know he had several women apparently that he had sex with, but then apparently there was a mistress, and I think there was a lot of that went on. People badmouthed Clinton so bad for getting caught with Monica Lewinsky, but that's gone on forever, and I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that he's not the first one that's done that, and he won't be the last one. And so, but back in the 60s, when that was going on, or before that, when it was going on with other presidents, people just, it was kept hush hush. And so it wasn't like plastered all over the internet and, the blogs and things like that. So that was something else that I was thinking about that I wanted to talk about. And then also in the textbook, it talked about sexual coercion, and I think also that's a thing that's changed maybe a little bit over time, that um, young women used to be coerced more. And I think women, because of, I don't know, maybe the women's movement or something, they've gotten more strong about it and assertive. And so that maybe doesn't happen as much as it used to. But again, I'm kind of out of the loop. So maybe it does. But I think sometimes it kind of maybe goes the other way, where the women might coerce the men, or the younger girls, because they don't have the society rules like we used to have, where girls didn't call boys and things like that. It happens all the time now. So another thing I wanted to mention was internet, that internet and internet pornography and internet sex. And one of my friends did her dissertation on internet infidelity, and is it considered infidelity if you do it online versus actually being with somebody face to face. And I personally happen to think that it's still infidelity, because it's an emotional, well, maybe it's not emotional, but it's still, you're still having sexual thoughts about somebody else besides the person that you're in a relationship with. Also briefly, I talked a little bit about this in the last video, but this last part of the book talks about sexual orientation and bisexuality, and are people born gay, or does it happen, is it an environmental thing or situational? And I really think it can be all of the above. I think sometimes people are born with a propensity to be in same-sex relationships, but I also think sometimes, quite often, people can make that choice. And so I guess I've had a hard time really kind of when people say somebody's bisexual, I think, well, I don't know if I really agree with that. I think most people are one or the other, but I think also in today's society, where people are more open about having relationships with different sexes, that it can be kind of, some people can just, it's more about the person than it is about if it's a man or a woman. So, also talking about sexual compulsion, and I work with addictive and compulsive behaviors, and so people talk about that quite a bit, and we talked about that in the last discussion about do you think that it's normal, whatever normal is, for people to have sex, or think that they should have sex every day. And some people even multiple times a day. And so I think there's some discussion about that, and I think it depends on the relationship, the person you're in a relationship with. But I also think that it probably has a lot to do with how it impacts somebody's life. If they can't live a fairly normal, productive life because that's they're obsessed, then then there's probably a problem. But if both partners are okay with it and it doesn't get in the way of other things, then maybe it's okay. So I guess it would just be a kind of a case-by-case situation. So I think that's about all I had on my notes to talk about. And again, feel free to send me any messages or questions in the discussion board if you want to ask for more explanation and more discussion about anything. And y'all take care, and maybe we'll see you again. Bye.